What is going on, YouTube? Fascinating graveyard. Today, we are at the Oak Hill Cemetery here in Glendale, Ohio. Basically, it's a suburb of Cincinnati, just a little bit north, maybe 10 minutes away, if that. Now, today, we're going to visit the grave of Peg Entwistle. You may not know her name off the top of your head, but you definitely probably have heard the fantastic way in which she died. And if you don't know that story of the woman who jumped off the Hollywood sign, well, this is it. A tragic story about a woman who chose to end her own life for whatever reason was in her brain. Let's continue with this story. So Peg, which was a nickname that she came up with, was born Millicent Lillian Entwistle. She was born February 5th, 1908, over in Port Talbot, Wales, in the United Kingdom. Fun fact, Sir Anthony Hopkins is also from that area of Wales. So I believe her father was an actor. Her mother might have been an actress as well. Not really sure because there's not a whole lot of information readily available about her mother. Some articles say that her mother died when she was young. We don't know, but her mother and father split up when she was very young, and her father emigrated to the United States in 1913, and he took his daughter with him. They had settled in New York City, and like I said, her father was an actor, but he kind of gave up the acting thing, and he opened up a little store in the Manhattan area. And the acting bug struck Peg because she wanted to be like her dad. She wanted to be an actress. And unfortunately, on December of 1922, her father was tragically ran over, struck, and killed by a hit-and-run driver in that area of New York, down in the, I believe, lower Manhattan area. So now you got a young girl who's without her father. She's a teenager. So the uncle comes, picks her up, and takes her back with him. I believe first they might have stopped in Ohio here and then made their way out to California. Now, since she wanted to be an actress, I believe her uncle was the manager of a pretty well-known Broadway actor named Walter Hampton. So, you know, nepotism is always helpful in the acting community. So he says, okay, maybe if you go out to the East Coast, maybe he can help you out. I don't know. So she makes her way out to Boston, New York, running up and down over there. So, you know, she doesn't, you know, she's not an actress by any means. She hasn't done very much. So because, you know, Walter is a good guy, and you know, he knows her uncle, he gives her like a walk-on part on a play. I think it was Hamlet. Yeah, I think it was Hamlet. And it starred Ethel Barrymore. Of course, if you know the Barrymore name, Drew Barrymore, very famous Barrymore. She comes from a long line of famous actors and actresses, if you don't know that. So she gets on, you know, and it wasn't an accredited role, right? So for the next, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years, basically, I believe she got that part in 1925. So she kept doing little bit parts and stuff like that. So in 1926, she hooks up with this group called the New York Theater Guild, right? They're basically an ensemble of actors and actresses who do plays, like, you know, wherever. They're like a traveling theater group. So coupled with that, and also getting gigs here and there on different Broadway plays, you know, she is basically a working actress. I would call her, in my personal opinion, a successful actress, because if you're getting paid, no matter if you're getting paid a little or a lot, if you are able to make a living off of what you are doing as an actor or an actress, to me, you're a total success. And one of the plays that she starred in was Tommy. 232 performances. That was a play starring Sydney Toller. 232 performances. That means she's a working actress, right? So 1926 to 1932 or so, she was doing that, right? So you gotta think, okay, what's going on in the country around those years? Well, it's the Great Depression. And the stock markets crash. People are losing their lives. They're losing their fortunes. They're losing their houses, their businesses. It's a very, very bad time in this country. So guess what happens during a Great Depression or a recession, whatever you want to call it? All of a sudden now, people that have money to just kind of spend on just frivolous things that, air quotes, frivolous, like going out to eat, restaurants, plays, movies. Nobody's doing none of that anymore, right? So she's working this group, and you got a lot of theaters closing its doors because nobody has any money to buy tickets to see these plays. And if nobody has any money to see the plays, they ain't gonna put on the production because you got to pay the actors, actresses, all the employees behind the scenes and what have you. So she somehow makes her way out west. That story's a little bit iffy. That's what's so weird about researching stories is, man, you just don't know who's telling the truth. You don't know what it is. It's not like you could read a newspaper article from 1931 and see exactly what happened. Anyways, so Peg makes her way out west. And, she's in Hollywood now, right? She's in Hollywood, and guess who else is in Hollywood? Lots of other girls her age and younger, and this and that, and more talented, more prettier. Everybody seems to be more prettier, more talented, more this and more that. Hollywood, to go out there and make a name for yourself, it's kind of like YouTube in a weird sense. It's just, it's all about kind of like luck. But you do have to have the chops. You do have to have some kind of a personality that people find endearing, a quality, if you will. But of course, the casting couch, ever prevalent, has been a staple in the Hollywood community for well over 100 years. So she gets out there and she finds first a role in the 1932 play The Mad Hope, starring Billy Burke. Okay, so she gets a job. And mind you guys, the country is still in bad financial shape. I don't think I think the country was pretty much in dire financial straits until World War II took place. So eventually she is discovered and signed by RKO Pictures. Now, RKO Pictures, back in the day, they were one of the top 5 major motion picture companies, along with 20th Century, Warner Brothers, Paramount, MGM. It was those 5, RKO and them. RKO basically went out of business and they were dissolved at, I believe, 1957. So she gets a small part in I believe it was a movie called 13 Women. It was starring Myrna Loy and Irene Dunn. And back in those days, right, I believe it was the norm for actors and actresses to, instead of being paid nowadays how they're paid per picture, back in those days they were paid by the week. So more than likely RKO probably just signed her to a week by week contract, right? And they decided not to renew her contract, and I guess it just sent her into a bout of depression that she was unable to get out of, right? I mean, you had a woman who was a working actress, and, the Great Depression happened. It wasn't her fault. It's something bad happened, and she could have easily had worked her way out of it. But, the brain, the mind, if you got a bad brain, it's just not going to work. Some people take adversity better than others. So on September 18th, or it would be September 16th or so, 1932, at the time, she was living with her uncle, and she says, hey, I'll be right back. I'm going to go to the store, go buy some whatever. So she leaves, and she never comes back. 2 days later, her uncle is reading the newspaper and sees a article about a woman who jumped off of the Hollywoodland sign, and she had no identification, but she had a suicide note. And in this note, it said this: and those letters, PE, the uncle said, "Oh, damn, I think that's Peg." And he calls the police. He says, "Listen, my niece has been missing for a few days. Her name is Peg Entwistle. Well, she goes by Peg. That body might be hers." He goes down to the morgue on the 18th of September and identifies his niece, Peg Entwistle. Not a very famous actress in life, and became pretty famous that week all over the country in her death. And this is her grave right here. She was cremated, and her ashes were laid to rest here along with her father, who, I just want to remind everybody, I know it's happened over 100 years ago, but her father getting hit by that car, they never solved that case. So whoever hit that man and ran him over and left, and not turning yourself in, I know, it was an accident, but you being the coward that you are, and you long being dead, you, in a sense, kind of warped this girl's world, if you will, taking, her mother's gone, and now her father's gone. At the age of 24, she maybe feels that she has no one left in this planet. Maybe she does have her uncle, but she feels that she was some kind of a failure or something along those lines, and nothing could be furthest said from the truth that, this girl was a working actress. It just was not her. It wasn't her fault that the Great Depression happened, and lots of people, including Peg right here, they took their lives, and there's a lot of people that lost their lives from that stock market crashing. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. It is said online that she was offered a role, but she didn't know about it because they sent the letter after she died. That can't be corroborated. So I don't know if that's just a legend or whatever. I don't know. But this fact is true. And not a lot of people talk about this, but when she jumped, the cause of death on her death certificate is multiple fractures to the pelvis, which means that she was still alive when she fell. So she died in immense pain, and who knows how many hours she was alive. She could have even been alive for 24 hours. Who knows? She died a very miserable death, and all for something that was not her fault. But that's what happens when we have these bad brains. You know what I mean? We got these bad brains, and we want to take the easy way out, and sometimes that can't be helped. Also, coincidentally enough, there is some kind of an urban legend that Peg still haunts the Hollywood sign area, and that people sometimes when they go to the Hollywood sign, these are just, of course, stories of people claiming that, oh yeah, I see a woman dressed up in 1930s regalia, and she's sitting on top of the H in the Hollywood sign. By the way, the Hollywoodland sign, that actually was taken down in 1949. The land part, it was just, changed to Hollywood. At the time, the Hollywoodland sign was just a promotional sign that was paid for by the city to promote Hollywood and promote tourism and people moving there. Can you imagine how much a piece of property was over there at that time? Heck. I'm sure all those people didn't see the growth Hollywood back in those days would have became. Who knows? But rest in peace to Peg Entwistle. Just a sad story of a woman who took her own life, and just like many actions like that did not have to happen. But anyways. All right, guys, I've babbled on and on. I'm out of here. There is another grave I'm going to visit here in this cemetery of a young man who was not famous in his own life, but just like Peg Entwistle, His death made headlines around the world. Live but not live, but still alive by the grace of God. I am Lamont at Large. I thank you for allowing me to tell you this story as best as I can. I know a lot of people have done this story. We are all different, and we all tell stories in our own unique style. God bless. I'll see you on the next vlog, God willing. Peace out.